All right, this is Unit 2, Section 6 homework. And we are finding slope and y-intercept from a table. So all I have to do, like the directions say, is find the slope and the y-intercept. Now, you can do this a number of ways, okay? You can do it by hand, or you can use a calculator to find it. I will show you both ways. So for certain ones, I will do them by hand. Other ones, I will do them on the calculator. It just depends on certain things. Okay. So it looks like 4 of these, if I'm just looking real quick, half of these I will do on the calculator and half I will do by hand. So that works out. All right. So number 11, I just have to find slope and y-intercept, and I have a table of 4 points, right? So I'm going to do this one by hand. So to do this by hand, I want to find slope, which is like the change in y over the change in x, okay? You may have seen it as maybe delta y over delta x. And delta just means difference. That's what it means. That's the triangle. So I mean, you've probably seen the slope formula is y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. I never use that formula because it's a waste of time in my opinion, but you can use that if you want to, or I'm going to show you how I do it. I mean, I do the same thing. Like, I do the slope formula. I just don't write it out as the slope formula. I write it a little different. So let me show you. On number 11, I pick any 2 rows that I want to, okay? It does not matter which 2 rows you pick. So let's say I'm just going to do the first 2 rows. Okay, so I'm going to go from here to here. How far is it from 2? Like, what do I do? Do I add or subtract, and how much to get to 3? Well, from 2 to 3 is plus 1. Okay? I do the same thing on the x. From negative 6 to negative 4, I would have to do plus 2 or add 2. Okay? Now, again, I can pick any row or any 2 rows and do the same thing. I could even skip rows and do the same thing. I will always get my same answer as long as these are linear equations, which in Algebra 1, for now, that's all we have. Okay? So, looking at this, my slope is my rise, which is the change in y, over my run, which is the change in x. So my change in y was plus 1, my change in x was plus 2, so my slope is simply 1 over 2. And that's it. So pretty much you're just finding the difference on each one and then writing the y over the x. Well, the change in y over the change in x. Same thing. Okay, now I got slope. I need to find y-intercept. Now from a table, you can very easily find the y-intercept because we know y-intercept is always 0, comma, some y, right? So wherever x is 0, that is my y-intercept, which on here, I have a 0 right here on the x, okay? So when x is 0, this is y-intercept. So 0, 5, 0, 5. So sometimes it'll give it to you on the table, so you just write it down, okay? So like the ones that already have a 0 on the x, your y-intercept is that point. 0, comma, whatever. Okay, so the 4 that I'm going to do by hand all have the y-intercept in the table, which is why we can do them by hand. Probably a little faster than the calculator. Okay, hold on. Okay, number 12. So I want to go ahead and do any 2 rows, right? Doesn't matter. So I don't like doing negatives as much, so I'm going to go ahead and pick 2 rows that have all positives if I can. And I want the smallest positive numbers that I can find, if they are available. So I'm going to go from 2 to 17. So from 2 to 17 is plus 15, and from 0 to 12 is plus 12. Okay, so my slope is my change in y over change in x, so 15 over 12. And I can divide each of those by 3, so I can reduce. and you get 5 over 4. Okay, so my slope is 5 over 4. And then y-intercept is right here, because x is 0, so y is 2. So I have 0, 2. And that's it for that question. All right, number 13. Some of y'all might already be seeing the y-intercept is right here. So I'm going to go ahead and do that first just because it's very noticeable. Okay, so I have y-intercept. Now I just have to find slope. Okay. So I'm just going to pick these two right here. So from negative 11 to negative 7 is plus 4. And from negative 2 to negative 1 is plus 1. So my slope is change in y over change in x. So 4 over 1, which can reduce to 4. And that's it. On to the next one. All right, 14. Okay, notice 14, we do not have a 0 on the x. So it doesn't give me the y-intercept, which means I'm going to need to do this one in the calculator. So let me show you how to do it. And I'm going to go ahead and show you on the calculator how to do, well, when you do this stuff in the calculator, let's see if it fixes. Okay. All right, so when you do these on the calculator, it actually gives you this slope and the y-intercept at the same time. So that's why I'm going to do the whole problem. Okay, so the first thing you want to do on a calculator, if you have one, is I want to press the stat button, which is right here. Stat. It's the second row next to alpha and x. Okay, so I have, oh my gosh, there, nope, almost. Go back. Okay. I hate this. Hold on. Okay, that's a little better. All right, so I'm gonna go to stat, and then I want to go to edit, which is the first one, so you can just press enter. Okay. Now, if I have numbers there, you know, I don't want all those. I don't want those numbers. I want something else. So I'm going to press the delete button. The delete is at the top in the middle. Oh my goodness. There we go. Nope. Almost. Anyway, so I'm going to delete all these numbers. Delete, delete. Okay. If I can get it to fix itself. Okay, there we go. So I have deleted everything, and now since I'm using a calculator, it doesn't matter what numbers I use. I'm going to use always the first two rows because it shouldn't make a difference since these are all linear. So I'm just going to type in the first two rows, so negative 5 and 5. Then I move to the right, and I type in 1 and 9. So they should match up just like your table on the paper. Okay. Once I have done that, I press the stat button again, but this time I go to the right where it says calculate or calc at the top, and I go down to 4. Okay, so 4 says linreg, that just means linear regression. Not important to know, just know that it's number 4. Press enter, I go all the way down to calculate. And we can tell right there that my A is my slope, my B is my y-intercept. So 0.8 and 5. Now I don't want decimals necessarily, okay? So let me just show you what I do. So on here, for my slope, you can go ahead and write 0.8 at first, and then we have y-intercept was 5, so 0, 5. Now I want to convert that decimal into a fraction. Okay, so whenever that happens, like it gives you a decimal, you don't want a decimal, right? Especially if you're doing some kind of a test and it only gives you fractions, or it specifically asks for a fraction in some way. Okay, so if I get a decimal, I'm simply going to type the decimal in, so 0.8. I press the math button. Math is right here, right below alpha. And see how number 1 says frac, which is short for fraction. So I pressed enter. So you should see 0.8 and then an arrow and then frac. Press enter again. And it tells me right there, if it goes in focus, there we go, that decimal is 4/5. Okay, so this 0.8 is actually 4/5 slope. Okay, so look, the calculator will give you both of these for you. Now, you can still do slope by hand on all of these, but if you don't have a 0 on the table, like for x, then you're going to have to find the y-intercept anyways. So you might as well just do the whole thing in the calculator, which is what I'm going to do, just because it's good practice. It gives you another option for something to do, right? Because you still could solve for y-intercept without having the 0. It just takes longer, and we don't need to do that right now, so I'm not going to bother. Maybe later when we get further in the year to a different topic, if we ever have to by hand, I will show you how to do that. Okay, so number 15. I don't have a 0 on the x, so I'm going to type this in. There we go. Okay, so again, I go stat, enter. I have numbers, I delete, move over, delete. It's also important to know you have to have L1 and L2 at the top, okay? Because some people will go up here and they'll accidentally hit delete, and then, oh no, L1's gone, I can't, what do I do? Okay, so if your calculator is not showing that, you can press second plus 712. It resets everything, and when I go back to stat edit, it is there. Okay, so if someone else messes up your calculator, just second plus 712 resets everything, and you're good to go. Okay, so I'm going to type in the first 2 rows, -2, -1. I move over, 10, 7, and see, like, because I do these by hand all the time, I already know what the slope is. But it's okay. I don't know what the y-intercept is. I could figure it out, but I don't really feel like it right now, so I'm not going to. All right, so once you type those 2 in, you press stat, go over to calc, and 4. All the way down, calculate. So my slope is -3, y-intercept is 4. Okay? Slope is -3, y-intercept is, what do we say, 4, so 0, 4. And that's it. Number 16. Now number 16, look, we have a 0 for our x, which means we already know the y-intercept. So now we have that, I can just do slope from the table by hand, which I'm going to do. To me, it's just easier. And faster, because I don't have to type it in and do all that. All right, so I'm just going to do the first 2 rows. From 11 to 4 would be -7. And from -6 to -3 is +3. Okay, so my slope is change in y over change in x, so -7/3. And that's it. See, to me, a lot faster to do it that way than having to type it in every time if I don't need to. Okay, so on here, I don't have my y-intercept, so I'm going to go ahead and type it in, boom, to the calculator, because it'll do it for me. Which, sometimes isn't bad, especially if you still want to check your work, you can always check it in here. So stat edit, delete everything, and I put in my first 2 rows, 4, 8, go over, 7, 10. Okay, I always do the first 2 rows. Again, you can do all the rows, it doesn't matter. So I type those in, stat, right, 4. All the way down, enter. So my slope is 0.75 and my y-intercept is 4. Okay, so we have 0.75, which I'm going to convert because I don't want a decimal. And my y-intercept is 4, so we got 0, 4. Okay, I already know what 0.75 is, but just in case you don't, type in point. Oh my gosh. Nope, blurry. Quit doing that, stupid camera. It's not my camera, so that's why. Nope. Don't do it. Fix it. Okay. 0.75. So I type my decimal in, press math, enter, enter. So 0.75 is 3/4 as a fraction. Which some of y'all may have already known that. Great. If not, it's okay. Just type it in. It's whatever. All right, next one, 18. 18 has no 0 on the x. So I'm going to type, oh, okay. Type the whole thing in. So I do stat, edit, delete, 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 delete. All right, type my first 2 rows in. -9, -7, move over, 11, 9, okay. Stat right 4, all the way down, calculate. Slope is -1, y-intercept is 2. Slope, -1, y-intercept is 2, so we have 0, 2. And we're done with that question. All right. Number 19, the last one on this page. Look at that. We have made it to the end of this page. There's still 2 more. Don't forget. Don't forget. All right, 19, stat, edit, delete, 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 delete. -26, -12, right, -37, -16. Okay, we got those typed in. Stat, right, 4, all the way down, calculate. Slope is 1.5 and y-intercept is 2. So we have 1.5 and 0, 2. Now, I don't want a decimal. Decimals are dumb. That's why they start with a D. Just kidding. Oh, okay. 1.5, math, enter, enter, which is 3/2. So we have 3/2. And look at that. We have finished this whole page. Awesome. So since we are done with this page, that means I am done with this video.